Hey, good afternoon and welcome. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. I am excited to be here with you this week, and we'll continue on as we talk about the 15 invaluable laws of growth. And I hope that you've got value out of what we've done each and every single week. And so we'll continue on teaching. I'll go into another book after this that I'm really, really excited about. But what I did want to tell you is that next week, we're going to actually be skipping next week live, and then I'll come back the following week to wrap up chapter 15, the law of contribution, because next week we have an incredibly exciting week. John Maxwell has a brand new book that's going to be released called High Road Leadership. High Road Leadership. And this book is incredible. This is about bringing people together in a world that divides. And so I don't know about you, but if you pay attention to anything going on in the world, we live in a very divisive world right now where everyone can be divided by anything. Now, we all agree on some common things and some common values, but any little thing tears and divides people apart in their sides. And so John is really talking about how to bring people together in a world that divides. And we have a phenomenal event next week that I want to invite you to that you absolutely need to be a part of. And it is going to be a virtual event on April 23rd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And to get to that website, to get registered for that, you go to highroadleadershiplive.com, highroadleadershiplive.com, and you'll be able to participate in this event. It's going to be several hours long. We're going to have lots of great speakers there. And so this is one that you don't want to miss because this is the launch of John's brand new book that'll come out in May called High Road Leadership. You absolutely want this book in your hands, in the hands of your team members, your co-workers, your staff members. This is a book that you want people to learn about leadership from. And so very, very excited about that. So since we got that going on next week, I'm going to skip next week, and then I'll continue the following week with the law of contribution to wrap up the 15 laws of growth, which we started, 14 weeks ago. We started this. And so if you could, as you are watching here today, I know we're getting started here. If you could put in the chat where you're watching from. I love seeing that each and every single week, and I ask you to do that every single week because, again, I just want to make sure that we are serving you and that we love seeing people from all around the world. So put that in the chat where you are watching from. And so today we're going to be talking about the law of expansion. The law of expansion. The law of expansion says that growth always increases your capacity. Growth always increases your capacity. And I love this quote that he starts out with by Lewis Patler. It says this: "The potential that exists within us is limitless and largely untapped. When you think of limits, you create them." Listen to that very final part right there. It says, when you think of limits, you create them. They weren't created by the world. They weren't created by your outside circumstances. They weren't created by anyone else but ourselves. I don't know about you, but yeah, I like to tell myself stories. I like to create stories. And so I always encourage you, if you're going to create a story, might as well make it a good one, because the only limitations that you have are the ones that you create. And so in this law of expansion, John talks about how to increase your thinking capacity and how to increase your capacity for action, how to increase your thinking capacity and how to increase your capacity for action. And so let's jump right into how to increase your thinking capacity. When it comes to thinking, that's one of the absolute best gifts that we were given when we were born and put on this planet. The gift to be able to think is the best gift that we were given, right? Because we get to create it in our minds. And so when we want to increase our thinking capacity, if we're trying to expand ourselves and we want to increase our capacity, the first thing that we have to do is we have to stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. Stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. Now, this allows for us, and this requires for us to really examine what we're doing in our lives. And when we begin to examine what we're doing in our lives, and we begin to ask ourselves, stop asking ourselves the question, what are we doing? And we start asking ourselves the question, what are we accomplishing? Oh, that changes up that to-do list that we have each and every single day. Now, if you look at your to-do list, and I think about this all the time when people tell me, well, Chris, I'm focused on this particular goal. And I say, well, great. Do you have a to-do list every day? Because that's the first thing that you should have. And they say, yes, Chris, I have a to-do list. And then what I do is I have them pull out their to-do list. I ask them what their big goal is that they're trying to achieve. And then we look at their to-do list, and their to-do list looks crazy. Why does their to-do list look crazy? Because their to-do list has nothing to do with what it is that they say that they want in their big picture vision. You see, they're doing the wrong things, and we'll talk more about that in capacity, action capacity. But your to-do list needs to line up with where you want to say that you go. So you could be busy with your to-do list, but it doesn't mean that you're accomplishing anything, and so we have to bridge that gap. In the 21 laws and the law of priority, 21 laws of leadership, in the law of priority, he tells us that we need to really examine what we call the 3 R's. The 3 R's. The first R is, what am I required to do? When you look at your role inside of your position, your company, or your organization, ask yourself, what am I required to do? Because chances are you could be doing things, taking responsibility for things, taking things on that you're not required to do, that's not lined up with where you want to go. And so it has you busy but not productive. The second R is return. What gives you the greatest return on your time, your investment, your money? What gives you the greatest return? Because oftentimes, if we look at what we call the Pareto principle, which simply says that, 20% of our activities give us 80% of our results, then we need to take a look at that to-do list and say, on that to-do list, what is actually giving me a return on the direction that I want to go? And then the third is, what would give me the greatest reward? What would give me the greatest reward? What's fulfilling for you in your day? What's fulfilling for you in your day? Now, some of you may be thinking, well, Chris, there's not much fulfilling in my day. I just don't like this job. You know what? I'm doing a lot of stuff that I don't like to do. I feel like a lot of it's required of me. I'm not getting a great return, and I'm not getting a great reward. Well, it's time to come face to face with that, because your thinking needs to evolve to a place that gets you to a place where you're getting that reward, you're getting that return, and you're doing things that you want to do. And so we need to take a look at that. But if we want to expand our thinking capacity, we have to stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. The second thing that we could do if we want to expand our thinking capacity is stop thinking, can I? And start thinking, how can I? Stop thinking, can I? Oh, that's a bad question. And start thinking, how can I? If you add just that one simple word at the beginning, what happens is you open up a world of possibilities. I think about this just yesterday. Just yesterday, I was with one of my children. I have 6 children, as I shared with you, and I'm trying to do my part and raise great children, and I'm constantly putting personal growth books in my children's hands, and each and every single week, in addition to school and sports and everything else, they have to read a book each week. Now, I know you're thinking, a book a week? How in the world are these kids reading a book a week? Well, how in the world can they read a book a week and still play countless hours of video games? Okay, I'll digress, okay? They can read more than a book a week, but that's what's required of them that I have them do every single week. And one of them I've had specifically, he's great with numbers. He's just a wizard with numbers, and he just gets it. So for weeks, I've had him read different financial books, and he's read more financial books than 99% of adults in the world over the past, 6 months. Every single week, he's got a financial book. He gives me a book report on it every single week. But yet, it's very boring to him. And he's not actually putting into actual application the things that he's learning, and so there's a gap. So there's a financial investment way that I began to study and practice a few months ago, and we're doing very well with it. It's creating great income. Things are going well, and I've shared that with a couple of friends. And now, my son says, Dad, he goes, you've shared that with a couple of people. He goes, what if it fails? And I go, oh, dear Lord. I said, what if it works? And it has. You see, I don't think that my son's any different than most people out there that have that question, what if it fails? And what I had to begin to explain to him, son, is that it can fail, it will fail, I will fail, but it's okay. That's a part of the process. And we've talked about that several times throughout, these weeks, that failure is a part of the process. You're going to get it wrong. But here's the thing. I don't ever look at it as a failure. I look at it as a lesson learned. I found out a way that it doesn't work. In fact, I find it enjoyable when it doesn't work because now I know, it doesn't work that way. All right. And so it gives you the lessons that you need, but you have to be okay with taking that action and having the opportunity for failure. We're going to miss it. We're going to miss it. All right. The third way that we can increase our thinking capacity is stop thinking one door and start thinking many doors. Stop thinking one door. Start thinking many doors. What does that mean? That means that there's always more than one option. There's always more than one option. So many times we get stuck on trying to find the right way. If we go back to the perfection gap, meaning that in the very first chapter, the perfection gap says that we're looking for the right way before we start. And what you have to understand is that there's never just one way. There's multiple ways to get started, and one door opens up another door. And when we get behind that door, there's more options waiting for you. There's always more. So you have to think in terms that there's always another option. We have to realize what those options are. I think about John right here as he wrote. He says, I've learned to think many doors and explore options. Here's what he's learned. Here's what John Maxwell says he's learned. There's always more than one way to do something successfully. The odds of arriving anywhere increase with creativity and adaptability. Movement with intentionality creates possibilities. Listen to that. Oh, that's good. Movement with intentionality creates possibilities. Failures and setbacks can be great tools for learning. But you see, when you have that shifted mindset that, failure is just a great tool. It's one of the best tools that you can have is, I failed at that, but that's one of the best learning tools. He says, knowing the future is difficult. Controlling the future is impossible. Gosh, I hope that you're getting this right here today. Hey, if you're getting value out of this today, real quick in the chat, just type yes. Just type yes in the chat. I want to see that, all right? But knowing the future is difficult. None of us know it. Controlling the future is impossible. Knowing today is essential. Controlling today is possible. Let me repeat that. Knowing today is essential. Controlling today is impossible. We've got choices that we can make today, things that we can do today that can move us in the direction that we want to go. Success is a result of continued action filled with continual adjustments. Success is a result of continued action. Action, moving forward, doing something, filled with continual adjustments. And that goes back to the phrase that I teach you that you hear every single time, the two-step process. Learn a little bit, do a little bit. And then when you do a little bit, you're going to learn a little bit from that action, which is going to give you more information to be able to go back and learn a little bit more so you can go and do a little bit more. So if you want to move forward on your goals, your dreams, your actions, your vision, all you have to do is learn a little bit, then do a little bit. You have to take continuous action and then make continual adjustments. And when you do that, what's going to happen is over time, you're going to get from where you are to where you want to go. You're not going to be sitting where you are today if you follow that process of learn a little bit, do a little bit. So that gets us into action. So how do we increase our capacity for action? You see, anytime that you talk to me or that you hear me speak, chances are you're going to hear me talk about doing something. I've never met a person that sat back and learned and did nothing and got great results. I've never seen a person say, hey, look, I've read 1,000+ books. And I've never applied any of the principles in those in my life, and life has been great for me, right? Or you could take somebody that hasn't read a thing, but yet if they take action, they're going to work their way into some type of success. So how do we increase our capacity for action? Because some of you love to get ready, to get ready, to get ready, to get ready. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to get ready. Then we got our real procrastinators. I'm getting ready to get ready to get ready. Getting ready when the kids graduate. Getting ready when I get to retirement. Getting ready when I get my house paid off. Getting ready when I get my car paid off. Getting ready when I stop getting ready. Just start going. We got to increase our capacity for action. How do we do that? Number one, stop doing only the things that you've done before and start doing things that you could and you should. Stop doing things that you've only done before. All that you've only done before has got you here today. And what you want is going to require for you to start doing things that you could and should do. I hope you get that. I hope that you get that. Look, what you want is on the other side of what you could and should do. But you're sitting back going, I could do that, but you don't do it. You're sitting back saying, I should do that, but you don't do it. You know what I should do is I should take, a 2% of my check and go ahead and automatically put in that to a checking account. But it's not that much. Hey, it's an action. It's a start, right? But what you've always done has got you where you are here today. And if you want more, if you want to be more, if you want to have more, if you want to do more, you have to start doing something new that you could and should do. Do something new today. I love what Pablo Picasso said. He said this. He says, I'm always doing that which I cannot do in order to learn how to do it. I'm always doing that which I cannot do in order to learn how to do it. This doesn't just happen by osmosis. You have to do it. So how do we increase our capacity for action? Number one, stop doing only things you've done before. Start doing things that you could and should do. Number two, stop doing what's expected and start doing more than expected. Stop doing what's expected and start with doing more than expected. You see, I believe in extremes. And so anytime that I'm wanting to pursue something, I go into hyper focus on that specific goal, topic, problem, issue, relationship. I go into hyper focus. What am I doing in that? Is I could just do the minimum and, hey, I want to learn about, becoming a better communicator. Well, I could just watch a video once a month, or I could go out and I can order every single book that I could possibly find on it. I can get engaged inside of a coaching program around it. I can get into a community around it. I could do more than what's expected. You see, you can't do the minimum and expect a maximum result. And so many times we're being conditioned right now that you can do the minimum and get the maximum. You can't do the minimum and get the maximum. You can't do minimum work as an amateur athlete and expect professional pay. Like it just doesn't work that way. The difference between a professional and the difference between an amateur is the amount of work that they're willing to put in. There's a big gap. Right? So you got to do more than what's expected. Number three, you have to stop doing important things occasionally and start doing important things daily. You have to stop doing important things occasionally and start doing important things daily. Now, this is huge, and what I like to liken this for entrepreneurs, for speakers, authors, coaches, whoever is that for you need to focus on what I call income-producing activities. All right. I have the privilege of leading the Maxwell Leadership Certified team. We have over 51,000 coaches around the world. And it was because of that program which allowed for me to become a full-time speaker, coach, and trainer when I did not have any idea how to do a presentation longer than 10 minutes. I did not have any idea how to architect leadership content. I had no idea on how to pay to get and to work with clients. I had no idea on all these different things, but what I did was I began to learn a little bit, do a little bit. And then what I found is that there was lots of people just like me that had a dream and desire to impact people's lives by adding value to them. But I stood out in the crowd and I was able to excel because I focused on the things that were important daily. What are some of those things in your life that are income producing activities? What are some of those things, again, going back to what's keeping you busy but not productive? You don't need to, if you're starting a business today and you have a business today, you don't need to rearrange your office again for the third time this month. That's not that's not the important thing. The important thing may be for you to pick up the phone and actually talk to someone to let them know that you have an offer. It could be that you're getting out your house and that you're meeting and starting building and nurturing relationships. That's the important thing. What's important to your business? What's important to your job that really needs to move the needle? And stop doing those important things occasionally and start doing them daily. You have to start doing them daily. And so when it comes down to this, here's what John calls his daily dozen. In his book, Today Matters is really a book about focusing on getting the most out of today. But in his book, he wrote what he calls his daily dozen. His daily dozen. These are 12 things that he's going to do daily to ensure that today is maximized. The first thing that he says is choose and display the right attitudes. Choose and display the right attitude. Determine and act on important priorities. Know and follow healthy guidelines. Communicate with care for my family. Practice and develop good thinking. Make and keep proper commitments. Earn and properly manage finances. Deepen and live out my faith. Initiate and invest in solid relationships. Plan for and model generosity. Embrace and practice good values. Seek experiences and improvements. Now, what a wonderful list. And for you, you don't have to have a dozen. But if you took a look at that dozen, and said, hey, what are my three? What are my three things that I'm really going to say, hey, this is what I'm committed to today? Could your thinking expand? Could your action expand? I hope that it does, because what happens whenever you increase your capacity, growth always fuels it. So continue to grow, continue to add value to people. I hope that you got value out of that today. I'll be back in 2 weeks to close out this book with the law of contribution on the 15 invaluable laws of growth. Now, again, if you have not picked up this book yet, you can pick that up from our bookstore at maxwellleadership.com/15 laws. You can get this book, I believe, and I say it every single week, one of the best personal growth books that you need to have inside your library. You need to get that today if you don't have the book. Second, be on the High Road Leadership virtual event coming up this April 23rd. You want to check out highroadleadershiplive.com, highroadleadershiplive.com. And of course, if you are interested and you have a desire of speaking, coaching, training, impacting people's lives, you want to reach out to one of our program advisors so they can talk to you about becoming part of the Maxwell Leadership Certified team, where we can show you and equip you on how to become a better leader, communicator, and coach in order to add value to people. This is a place where there's content, there's tools, there's resources, there's community to help you add value to others so they can multiply value to others. Hey, it's been an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day.